Can CTOs make the best CEOs? To answer this question, I have with me Sachin Duggal. So Sachin is the founder of Builder, on a mission to help anyone build and run software. So with Builder, anyone can really turn any idea into tailor-made software without having to write any code or speaking to a developer or an agencies, and all of that with guaranteed costs and timelines. So really looking exciting. One could say that you are a techie that likes doing business. I think you would agree that a common thing for people in tech is to build tech projects and not businesses. You have the vision. You can build the first prototype or the MVP yourself. At what point do you stop coding and you start focusing on other parts of the business?
I'd say that the big difference, at least in my own experience and approach, is the pivot away from thinking about things as a coding problem, but to really be thinking about things as an engineering problem. An engineering problem is much like a science problem. You have a hypothesis, there's data that you're measuring, you're building something, or you're testing something, or you're launching something, and then you're measuring against that data point. And did you hit the target, did you not hit it? When you build an MVP, you may be writing the code, you may be working with others, you may be designing architecture or framework and someone else is implementing it. But to me, the engineering problem continues. Who's the right audience? How do you market to that audience? How do you know that that market is being efficient? And so when you think about the problems, or I guess the facets of running a software business, a lot of the engineering principles apply across the board. And so as you're running a company or you're moving out of just MVP and you're going to actually launching, it's some of those softer understandings of, how will someone react? How will a customer value your value proposition? How will they see it at the first shot? All of those things become quite important. Yeah, look, and I think we've seen a bit of this play out, Alice. If you think about the new CEO of Twitter, was the CTO who's become the CEO. So I see, you see a lot of engineering discipline moving into CEOs because, running a company is one part a data engineering problem and one part, those softer skills in it. But to be a tech founder is different to being, I guess, a techie or a coder. And you may be a tech founder who has those sort of other elements to your universe, in which case, it is a matter of somewhat training, some experience, some failures, some successes, and you will naturally meander your way to becoming a CEO. And I think for me, it's been a lot of learning, a lot of mentoring. One of the most important things that I did earlier this year is I joined a coaching program for founders and CEOs. Now, athletes have coaches, actors and actresses have coaches. Why shouldn't founders or CEOs, why do they have to wait till they're 40 or 50 to get coaching? So I think that was hugely important in working with a peer group to get feedback. But then you've got the other side of it, which is you may just really enjoy technology and you're coming into being a tech founder from the pure engineering side, not necessarily the product side. And I think those are big delineations. Everything for me personally, when I've come in to build over the various startups that we've worked on and scale-ups we've worked on, has always been a product problem. And then the engineering problem is an interesting engineering problem second. If you're coming in with an engineering problem and you don't necessarily want or have that appreciation for the wider set of things, or you don't want to be managing those, I think that's where either you have to go through a steep learning curve because you want to get there, or you need to make sure you have another co-founder with you that is pro those so that you can continue to be pro on engineering.
What should founders start thinking of right as they start a business? Some things to start doing, some pitfalls to avoid as well.
I often ask folks, and we've launched new products even within a much bigger entity and a bigger company. I think answering the question about why you're doing something and then how you're going to approach it are really undervalued. Classically, people spend 90% of the time discussing what they're going to do and 10% on the others. But I feel like if you can bring a bit more of the why and the how into that discussion, if you can make sure that everyone's very clear on the North Star, why that North Star, why it's important, you achieve two or three things. You first achieve alignment. Secondly, you achieve everything from a sort of purpose perspective of it's very deliberate. Why are we doing this for this customer and this product mix? The third thing I would do, which we probably did later in the day, but it would have been probably great to do before, is what are the macro trends that you're building your business on? So for us, as an example, it was we believed 5 years ago that the digital and traditional economy were going to merge, and that ultimately every company was going to be software powered or a software company. If that was to hold true, which it has, then you would have the second macro trend, which is there's an exponential increase in the number of customers or people trying to build software, and there's only a linear increase in the number of developers in the world. There's 25 million developers in the world today. It is not growing exponentially. If that holds true, which it did, then you have a third problem, which is that this customer is not technically savvy. Because this customer is not savvy, we call them Java in Starbucks, not Java in code, they're likely to experience higher failure rates. Check. We have 50% more failure in software projects built by SMBs and folks that don't understand technology than enterprises. Gartner made that famous stat that 50% of all outsourced projects fail, and actually it's closer to 80% now. And so you start to see this layered approach, and what this does is it starts to set guardrails around, we've got to solve this problem, this is why we're solving this problem, this is the solution, and then the approach or the technology is a really important part of the equation because it delivers against the problem. But it's very important to make sure everyone's trying to solve an identical problem, not even a shade, not even a degree off. It's like you take off from London and you're going to San Francisco, you're actually going in the same direction as New York for half the flight. But you don't want to land in New York, you want to land in San Francisco. And so I think it's very important to get that early bearing and guardrails and mapping very important.
Builder is really the hack for anyone who needs to build an app or software. What would be your equivalent, for tech people looking at business tools, your top picks, lifesaver tools as you are starting the company?
I think it depends a lot on, are you coming into this from as an engineer with an engineering solution? Are you coming into this with a product solution? What I found to be very helpful is frameworks. So, you have like the one-page business plan framework, you have the one-page product plan framework. A lot of these are very useful because there's something called like the product canvas. And you get a very small amount of spaces to be very concise and answer a bunch of questions. And the more of these frameworks you can do up front, I find them to be very helpful because they help you distill things down. The second I would say is, from a technology perspective, one of the most important tools for us is being whiteboards. And so we use a system called Vibe. It allows us to whiteboard collaboratively. That's been really important. But I think if the real problem that you're trying to solve with this tool is to be a better CEO, I feel it's less tools, it's more frameworks. It's less tools, it's more right mentoring. And potentially it goes far as saying it's less tools, it's more coaching. Because you tend to learn better from those around you, and you also tend to learn better from frameworks that are very well established at asking the right set of questions at the most appropriate time in your journey.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Sachin. Really appreciate all these insights. To all of you, I hope you enjoyed the video as well. Let us know your thoughts and questions if you have ideas for some next videos. We'd love to hear that feedback. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks, Sachin.